So in our all-in-one, which we use all the time, and you've probably seen it before, we have just tons and tons of resources available for you to have. So we have our 101 course, our 201 course in there, along with the Q&A documents. From there, we have our Q&A document for this session and combined with this morning's 301 session. And we will have a recording of the webinar right here by the end of the day today, hopefully. And then we have all of these other videos and series and resources that are really here to help you. So how do you want to use the DPS activity library? Here's a 2-minute video on that. So please refer back to this guide. It is full of information for you. We really keep this up to date as soon as things come out. And so this is the best place. You can either bookmark this, you can save the link to your drive. Just make sure that you have this. This is our one place that we're keeping everything all year long, and the idea is to keep it over multiple years. So please access the all-in-one document. And then here again is the Q&A document to drop in your questions from the sessions for today. And we also then have our presentation, which is linked on the Q&A document. And that'll be here. Let me drop this in the chat as well, so that you can view this. I am going to go a little bit faster through the presentation, just because this is an advanced session. So like when I add an activity, I'm going to assume that most of you have added activities before. And because this is going to be recorded and the step-by-steps are in the slide deck, so you can always go back and view that. We just have a lot of content to cover because this is our advanced session, but know that you can go back and watch the recording and the step-by-steps in the presentation document. So with that, we are going to go ahead and launch. I'm going to do this in 5 different sections and then pause for questions at the end of every section. Make sure that you are dropping in your questions into our Q&A document. Thank you, Magley, for posting all of that there. Okay, so to start us off, just to ground us, I think it's important that we have our crisis priorities as we are in this time of crisis, right? Time of trauma for a lot of us too. It's just that what we're really focusing on with all of our work. I know you guys have seen these a million times, but I think that it's really important to see these and be reminded of the work that we're doing and what our focus is. And that the main point of Seesaw is that it is making learning visible for us, especially in the remote setting or as we're returning to in-person, that we can see what the students are doing, not just seeing their products, and that we can really engage in meaningful ways with our students beyond them just doing like a worksheet on like a Google Drive assignment and they send that back to us. We want them to have really authentic experiences where we can see what learning they are doing. Seesaw is our main like home base for everything for elementary classroom. From there, you can have then your Google Suite, which we're going to talk about more later on today. You can then have in other links, which again, we'll talk about too, of how do you get your Google Meet in there, your Screencastify, your Pear Deck, all of these other things. We'll talk about our ebooks today. And everything is rostered through Infinite Campus, but Infinite Campus is still where you're taking attendance and doing grades. So that's just kind of a nice visual as to what it can do and what it can't do. And then we're going to jump right in. So this is something that I get asked for a lot is, how do I make a Bitmoji classroom? Again, the step-by-step is right in here in our slide deck, but I'm going to show you how to do this live here. So I'm going to come to my Seesaw and I'm going to add in a new activity. I'm going to create a new activity, and I can do this as either an example or a template. It really depends upon how I want my students to do this. Do I want them interacting with it and adding their own stuff, or do I just want it as a resource? So when I think of Bitmoji Classroom, I think of it as kind of like a launching off place to access all resources. So I'm going to make it like that. So I'm going to go multimedia instruction or example, and I'm going to go to drawing here. So the very first thing I need to do is I need to get a background. So I'm going to open up a search here, and I'm just going to search for like a classroom background, and then I'm going to type in PNG, and a PNG just gives us more options than a traditional like JPEG image does. And so it allows me to do more. So I'm going to grab like, oh, let's grab this one here. Okay, so make sure the copyright's all fine and stuff. I need to investigate that further, but then I'm going to go copy this image. And when I come back to Seesaw here, I actually can't right click and paste. I can't get it in there, but I can do the shortcut for paste, which is Control V if you're on a PC or Command V if you're on a Mac. And when I do that, it does paste in. So I can't right click or two finger click and drop it in, but I can paste it in. So now I have this background image. I want to add in other things like my Bitmoji, right? So I want to do my Bitmoji. I have the Bitmoji extension installed on my computer. So I'm just going to open that up, and it's really just going to the Chrome Web Store and searching for Bitmoji. And I'll have lots of those available. So I'm going to go find one here real quick. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go copy, and then I'm going to paste in my Bitmoji. Oops, guess I did not copy it all the way. Let's go copy image. All right, so now I have my Bitmoji in there. I can like resize however I want to get it in there. Now I want my students to have a place to interact with each other and be able to have resources available. So maybe I have this like map up here as links to my social studies content. So this one's already built in. So then what I can do is I can add in just like a shape here on top. That would be like a rectangle. Here on top of that. And I'm going to go as, oh shoot, what was it? I'm going to go as no background or no like fill on it. And so then that is a shape, but I can still see the map behind it. Then if I click on the shape here, I can click the three dots, and I can go and create this a link to wherever my social studies resources are for them. So I can have it linked out to National Geographic. I could have it linked out to curriculum resources or something like that. But the idea is that I'm putting a shape over the background image anyways, because then that shape allows me to make it a link. So that's one way. I can take things that are already in here, right? I can make the clock always math. Or what I can do is I can go grab like a teacher desk or something like that, and I can add that in. And then when I add in an image, I can do the same thing of clicking on the three dots and making that a link. So let me find one here. So let's go here. Let's go teacher desk, and then again, a PNG. It'll give me options. When you see the checkered background, that almost always means that it's a clear background. So as I add it on top, it'll work. And it doesn't work 100% of the time. So I'll say sometimes it takes a little bit of playing around with, but I can come in here. See, that one didn't work on my other tabs. So let's find one that does work. Maybe this one here. Yeah, as I'm pasting them in, not all of these actually give me a clear background, but that's okay. You know, I'm actually going to grab this one here, and I'll use it no matter what, it's clear or not. Oh, this one does have a nice clear background. So I'm going to put my teacher desk over here to the side, and then maybe the teacher desk here, I put in my meet link. So I have my image here, and then I could go make it a link, and I can put this as the meet link. So that's where they come to me for class, right? And I can layer all of these things on top of the image. I can put different shapes in my background, and it allows me to have a really fun place to work with my students. Now, I'm actually not going to share this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you then some different ones that we have in our library. So if you go to school and districts up here at the top, instead of going to my own library, and just search like for my Bitmoji classrooms, you can find the other ones here. I'm going to shout out Erin Magley, who is here helping me today. She has this awesome template here for you that you can have, and it has all the different elements, again, layered on top of a background. And so you can see her welcome video. She has her CLO. She has the different links to the things on top here. She's even updated what the date is and all of that. So you can come in here and you can copy these templates that are already built for you to start your Bitmoji classroom, and then you just start adding on top of that. So that's how you do a Bitmoji classroom roughly, is grab a background, adding in images on top of that. And I'm going to pause then for any questions we have in the document, or if anybody wants to come off and ask a question.
I do have a question. So you searched for that Bitmoji classroom under district, and I tried to do it and I could not find it. So should I type in Erin's name, or what should I type in?
So for hers, it's called Bitmoji Classroom Intro Page, right? Or you can search just DPS EdTech to find the one for Erin as well. All I searched was just Bitmoji because that's like the simplest word I wanted, and it comes up with the most results. But you can search like Bitmoji Classroom Seesaw like on Google, and a million will come up. There's a ton on Teacherspace Teacher and Pinterest and stuff like that. You can find really good templates to start with.
Luke, I have a question.
Yep.
I created a Bitmoji template, and I also created a weekly journal template to use. But I'm having difficulty merging the two. Is there a way to add the Bitmoji template into an existing activity in Seesaw?
Yeah, so that's something I really wish that they had. We'll be doing a version of that when we talk about tabbed notebooks, which is coming up here soon. But if you're going to copy from one activity to another, the easiest way to do it is to have two tabs open, and you copy back and forth between the two tabs. So you have like the original activity and then the new activity, and you just copy and paste. It is kind of annoying because you have to grab like each thing from your Bitmoji classroom to copy it over, but it will work.
Okay.
And then once you have it, you have it. But,
all right. Thank you.
Yep. And we'll talk about linking activities in an activity in just a few minutes.
Is there a way that you can have your Bitmoji classroom show up in the journal as the top thing every day?
Yes, we're going to cover that in just a few minutes too.
Perfect. I thought it was a silly question then. Perfect.
No, it's actually a brand new feature, so that'll be coming here in a little bit.
Oh, good. I have that same question just because like some stuff I need every single day. And so then is there a way to like schedule things more than just one day?
Yes, so you can schedule things out ahead. So let me actually I'll skip ahead just because it's topic right now. So I'm going to copy Erin's one here. Let's say that this is going to be mine. Okay, I would go through and modify it all on my own, right? So I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to go to my library. And I'm going to assign this out to my class. What I can do then is, so here's my second grade class. If I want to schedule this for a day ahead of time, I can come in here to my schedule and I can have it as a specific date and time here. So I can schedule it ahead of time and I can add as many things to my schedule as possible. But really, I just want to go like immediately for this one because it's going to be kind of like my class resources. So my Bitmoji is best to have as my resources. Now, I really want it at the top always. So if I come down here from my feed, you can't do this from the library. It has to be in your feed. You click the three little dots here and you go pin to top. You can only have one thing pinned to top, and that's where I like our Bitmoji classrooms or our resource pages, and it'll say it's replacing something else I already have. It pins it to the top, and now up here at the very top, you'll see pinned, and this is going to be the place then that my students can always come for their resources. So this is where all of our links are. If I have them doing like iReady, I'll have my iReady link in there so that they know how to get there and stuff.
Actually, so can you schedule, like, if it's something that you want every single day, instead of assigning it, you know, even, I mean, do you have to go in 5 times and schedule it for the day you want it there? Or can you just do the whole week, click the whole week?
Yeah, so you have to assign it for each of the 5 days. So you just go Assign it for this day, assign it for this day, assign it for this day. Yeah.
So after you assign it, do you have to pin it each day then as well?
If you're going to do a different one for every day, then you would have to pin it every day. But if you're just going to have like, so the way I would use it is that my Bitmoji classroom has all of my links to all of my things, and I'm just going to leave it up there. And if students try to turn it in, right, they try to submit something, I'm just going to send it back to them. So it ends up back in their feed always. And then if I'm going to do like a daily math activity, I'm just going to have that in their feed as just, here's your math activity for every day. But my Bitmoji would be my resources that are always at the top so that they always know that predictable place. But then like every day their math will change. All right, so after some wait time then, we'll talk about skills. So skills is part 2 of the slide deck. Again, all the instructions how to do this are in your slide deck, but I'm going to show you live how to do it because that's way more fun. So I'm going to come down here to a past assignment. Let's go down to reading intervention. Okay, so this is my reading intervention activity, and I want to assign it a skill. I can either do this from my library or I can do it on a current one here. So I'm going to go edit my activity. And at the bottom, I can go more options, and I have skills built in. Right now, we have added the majority of our content areas as skills already for all of our standards. So think of skills and standards as the same. So you can either use this for standards-based grading. So if you're going to give your students a grade based off of each of the standards at the end of the trimester or semester or whatever grading period you're using, or you can do this for mastery tracking based off of the standards or the skills. So whenever you think skills, just think standards. So when I come in here, I can assign a standard or a skill to the activity. So this is going to be a reading activity. So then I can choose the appropriate standard for that. I just select that appropriate standard and I hit the check. If you are missing a standard, say that you want to do a social studies standard or something like that, reach out to the social studies partners and they'll be able to help you with that. Getting it in there, we are loading in as many of the standards as we can. We're just working with the content partners to be able to get that done. So now I have my skill ready to go right here. And then I can grade based off of that standard or that skill for that class. Let me find then an activity that hasn't been approved. So I'm going to come in here. Oh, I don't have a standard assigned to this one. So let's go. I'm going to show you how to actually grade on a student. So I'm going to choose a skill for this one. I'll make this one math. And then when I come to grade here, I have a submission. And so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go for Mirhan here. I'm going to go review. I can give her a comment. I can approve her work. I can send it back if it was incomplete. I could delete it. Really, deleting is just if the student does something like really inappropriate, writes like a poop emoji or something on the screen. Most of the time, I'm going to send it back or approve it. I can give my descriptive feedback in my comment. I can like it. I can give verbal feedback this way. Or then this little hat is our mastery. So I'm going to choose that standard again here. And I'm going to go, sorry, up here at the top or down here. And then I'm going to give Mirhan a 4-star on that one. When I do that, then that gives the feedback, but doesn't give it to the student. So think the descriptive feedback is for students is in the comments, but this is kind of like more my grade book when it comes to our mastery tracking or master-based grading. So once I've given that star rating to my student, I can come down here to skills and it will show me that standard and where she is. So it is showing her as green right now. because she is the highest category. It's showing her as dark green, so she had a 4 out of 4, and it shows how many times I've graded her on that skill. You can also see here, Brian already has one as well, so this number could go up to 6 or 10 or 20 by the end of the grading period for each of my standards that I've chosen. So as I have all these standards up here, it'll give me that. Now, note, if I have 6 activities for Brian and say 7 activities for Merhan, the color is simply going to be the last activity they did, which isn't my favorite thing about skills, but it's still useful. If Merhan has 7 things, I would really like it to give me an average of her 7 things, but it's saying the true idea of mastery is that I'm taking the last thing the students did, and if they demonstrate mastery on the last thing, then that means that they've achieved mastery, is kind of like the idea of mastery, right? So like if I learn how to ride a bike, can I ride a bike at the end? It doesn't matter how many times I fell down before. It's did I ride the bike now? So have I mastered that standard? If I have, then it turns green. So it doesn't give me an average. It's just the last one that they've had there. You can change the colors and how many stars you give in the settings. So up here at the top right, if I click the gear, we have a section of the settings for skills. So I can manage my skills here. I can choose how many stars to give, right? So I can make it like 5 stars if I wanted. And then I can change the color scheme too. So maybe I don't want students to be red. Maybe I want them to be all green. I can change it that way as well. But just note that this is more for like conferencing with parents. This is for your own data tracking. It's not that Brian's going to see that he's dark green or he's yellow on his work. It's just that he is at that spot for me. So it's great to show during conferencing, not for student feedback. So questions about skills? All right, see some questions in the chat that are being answered and stuff, but we'll just keep on powering through. Maybe we'll get done early today. That'd be great. So then creating your own templates. Nikki, who is the digital coach for the Far Northeast, has made an awesome slide deck that goes along with this. All you need to do to get this slide deck is to click on this image right here. So when I click on that, it's going to open up really in-depth how to create my own templates using what we're going to call a tabbed notebook. So I'm going to go through this live, but just know, again, the step-by-step is in here. It's just how to do this is several steps. And so we want to make sure that you guys all have that information available to you in Seesaw, and that you have that to take away from here as well. Let's go. So when I go back to my activities and I add an activity, I'm thinking I want to make a place for my students to do, let's say, their ELA work. So all of their language arts work, I'm going to want in one spot here. So I'm going to create a tabbed notebook with many pages in it. So I'm thinking as my students are in person, I have a notebook. And then now I'm going to have like some students virtual and some students in person, or maybe I'm going to be the virtual teacher. And so I want to replicate my physical class as much as possible in the digital environment, in the virtual environment for my students. So I'm going to make this one as a template for my students. And I'm going to do it in drawing, which is almost always what we do. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to build my notebook. I'm going to show you how to do all this, and then I'm going to show you a bunch of templates that we already have so that you can have places to start with. So very first thing here is I'm thinking like the standard composition book that all of us have used since like we were kids. So I'm going to make a nice black notebook here, and then I'm going to add in like the very standard white box at the front here. We all know this. I like to use the rectangle as much as possible because it gives me just a lot of options. So I'm going to go white here. I'm going to say then English language arts. You can make that a little bit bigger. And so this is going to be the front page or the home page of my notebook. I can go grab an image from online like we did with our Bitmoji classroom and make that the cover of my notebook and make it like actually look like a notebook if I want. But the basic idea is that I'm going to have my home page and then I'm going to have different sections of my lesson in the notebook, and so it's easy to navigate. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab more shapes here. I'm going to grab my rectangle again, and I'm going to add in little tabs on the right-hand side. So I'm going to stick this together here, and my first page is going to be my home page. And so I'm going to make that one black. And then I'm going to add in more shapes, and I'm going to make them different colors for my different colors of my pages. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to do then like, say my do now is going to be blue. And I can keep going with this as many tabs as I want. And I'm just going to show you how to do like 3 here. So I'm going to add in another tab. I'm going to make this one like yellow here. Then I'm going to come over to my first page and I'm going to duplicate this. Because I've already built this out, now I'm just going to be doing like a lot of replication. So I'm going to take this box and I'm going to make it smaller up at the top for my students so that it doesn't take up so much room like it does on the cover. And then maybe I'm going to make this second page here my do now. Okay. Now I want my do now page to not be black like the cover. I'm going to make it blue like the tab here. So I'm going to go and I'm going to make this the same color blue for my page. So my black is going to be my first page. My blue is going to be my second page, or my second section. I can have multiple pages that are blue. And then I'm going to have one more that's going to be my yellow. So I'm going to go duplicate page again. And then let's make this one like activity 1. And I'm going to make the page yellow again. Try to match the yellow as much as possible. And I have it. Now, what I want to do too here is that I'm going to make each one of these tabs a link to the appropriate section. So when I want them to click on the blue tab, it's going to take them to that page. So I'm going to click the 3 dots like we did before, and I'm going to make this a link. But instead of doing a website link, I'm going to make this a page, and I'm going to link it to the second page. So I'm going to have it on here, and I can even add in like a text box here that's like the do now. And I can label my tabs if I wanted to. That's completely optional here. I'm going to make it fit on there as best as possible. So then when my students click on this link, it just takes them automatically to page 2. And then I can do the same thing for like page 3 here, or section 3, I go link, and I link it to the other section. And as I add in, say maybe I want to go 2 pages in this section here. So my do now is going to be 2 pages. My links still work. So my link now has turned it to page 4. But let's say I want to go even more in depth. I have this notebook that I want to do. And, you know, my first activity, I really want to do a writing prompt for my students. And well, I like the text box. The text box is hard to do a whole paragraph as I'm writing in here. It's hard. It resizes for you automatically. Then I have to like drag it, right? It's cool, but it's hard to do more than like a paragraph. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just save this real quick. I want my students to be able to actually have a writing page for the prompt that I'm going to do. So I'm going to go back to my library and I'm going to create a new activity that's just going to be simply my prompt. I'm going to go create an activity here. And then I'm going to add a template for my students, and I want the notepad this time because I want them to have the lines here. I want them to be able to do different things and have this nice piece of paper. So then I'm going to say like whatever my prompt is here, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to give them their space to write underneath it. So I want this activity to be linked into my other one, into my notepad, and I want them to have it. So this is what we call a linking an activity within an activity. So I'm going to save this prompt here, and I'm going to assign this to my class. And then I'm going to show you what I can do with it here. So I have this, I'm going to assign it. Oh, sorry, assign up here to my second grade class. And I'm going to have this due, since it's for tomorrow, I'm going to make it due tomorrow. I'm going to have it post at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So I'm going to assign there. I'm going to go back and view it in my class. So now it's in my scheduled for tomorrow morning right here. And once it's scheduled or it's live for my students, I can actually link this activity into the other one. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this scheduled activity and I'm going to get a student link, because I really want them to have this paper to write on, this notepad, instead of just a text box. And then I'm going to go back to my activity in the library. And you can do this with any activity that you can link an activity within an activity. And in my tabbed notebook here, I'm going to edit it. And for today's page 4, I'm going to add in this link. So I'm going to click the 3 little dots here, go link, drop in my link. That's the shared activity for students. And I'm going to make it like that. So my students come in here and they say activity 1, and it's just the Seesaw link. Well, when they click on this link, it's now going to open up a tab that is their writing prompt for the day. So they have the lined paper right here for them to do. They can add their response and they can complete it. So instead of doing just the writing on the page here with a text box, that's how I can do a writing notepad within this. I can also do this in different ways. So if I wanted to make my notebook the schedule for the day, and then my first tab to be my math, my second tab to be literacy, I can link out to my whole literacy right here in my notebook, so that my students would have it all in one spot. So always go to your notebook and then just complete everything in your notebook. How you do it is up to you, but this is then how I would put an activity within another activity, and I'd still get the lovely notepad that I would have here. So if I have here my activities, I could just make my tabs each an activity for like math here, or I could set it up as just a daily schedule at the front.
I have a question. So they click with the student link in the activity. You said it opens up a new tab. So then my kids have to go back to the top to go back to this tab notebook. How do they get back there?
So it opens up a Chrome tab. So it just opens up a new window.
On the top.
Yep.
Okay.
So then they would
submit that little writing assignment that you just had, and then they could go back, and this tab notebook would potentially be in draft form if I wanted assignments completed in there also.
Sure. Yep. So you can have them say, here's our writing activity. I just want this writing in this place in this format. And so do that, and here's your full literacy lesson for the day. So they would turn in like 2 things in this, but then you would have much more control over what it looks like. You're all in the advanced. So I know there was a lot of steps on that, and that's where Nikki's lovely slide deck comes in. It breaks it all down how to do that. And there's a bunch of tutorials online on how to do that. There's different ways to do it. But what I really want to show you then too is this is like the basics of how this works with the tabs and the links and stuff like that. We have a lot of resources available on the school in district library. So if I come to my library here and I just say like tabbed, I can search, and there's some really fun ones. So like, this is what I was saying before of you can have an actual notepad as the first page, and look, she's already built out several tabs for you. So you can copy Ms. Hancock's work here and be able to do that. Or I'm going to show you guys one of my favorite ones down here too. Where did it go? Was on here. There's a math. There's a math tab. There's a lot on ours there too. Yeah, see 219 of these tabs, so I've been shared out.
I really
there it
like
is.
the organ.
So here's one that you can see. So this is from Lisa Ortiz. It's just math notebook. So that's what it was, is search notebook for hers. And if you open it up here, she does a complete content area with all of her activities, and she's built in her enrichment and kind of like her daily work on here. So like math games is linked in the one spot, but it's not part of the main lesson. So you go through the lesson, the activities, the reflection, the exit ticket, and then you have the other things on here. So you can think of, like with my daughter, she does her sight words every day. And so I could put in a sight word link here. That's not part of our lesson because we're not going to spend time doing sight words, but I want my class to practice sight words. I can add it in as a link here, and it goes through and has each of the pages already built out. And this is a really great one. You can see activity 1 here, all built in, and it's really easy for our students to use.
Hey, Luke, we had a question in the chat.
Yep.
Giannina asked, I have my lessons in Google Slides. Is there a way to link my slide deck to a notebook? So I guess you would use a student activity link that way, right?
Yep, you can do it that way for sure. You can add a student activity link, or you can link in your slides into a notebook on Seesaw, and they click on the slides like out that way. It's just whatever way you want to make it work.
I like use a tab notebook for like all of my lessons throughout the day, and it took my kids like a while to like figure out like what to do on each page, but it's like very organized and like an easy way when parents are kind of like helping. It's like they like understand the tab notebook now. That's why I don't know if I would like link another lesson within, but maybe once they get a little more proficient, I might do that.
For sure. For sure. And I know that linking an activity within an activity kind of takes like some brain power, but we're the advanced group. So you guys are my rock stars.
And something else I want to point out is direct instruction when you get on with kids, showing them how to navigate Seesaw and what you're clicking on and what they're getting to, and getting some practice in there really helps kids understand. Or also having kids present their screen so that other kids can see what they're supposed to be looking at and doing. Get your proficient kids, ask them if they'd be okay with presenting their screen and showing how they click and get around. Really shows the other kids, that's how you navigate it, right? So it takes some getting used to, but you can use each other presenting screens to really get used to what that should look like for everyone.
Awesome. Then we're going to move on to some kind of just some grab bag here, some tips and tricks. And this is where we got ahead of ourselves, but is a-okay. The pin to the top, because that's a really fun feature and it's new. I think it was just launched in the last few weeks, like the end of September. And so that's really cool that you can pin like your template, your activity that you use the most to the top. And then this one, just think here, this is for students view. For students, this looks different for us, but when students are in their activity feed, they have their do now folder, like their, to do folder, which is stuff that's assigned to them that they haven't done. They have their in progress. They also then have their done, so things that they've submitted. And then they also have this new calendar. And the calendar is cool because when they click on it, it will show them, hey, Mr. Munt has assigned me 5 things today. And then my special teacher has assigned me a 6th thing. So if you get in the habit, you can have students model this on their computer, like sharing out during a meet or whatever, but they can say, what do I have due today, Monday, October 19th, is that I would go in and look at October 19th. I can click on my day and I can see everything that I need to do. So for some students, this is a really great thing. When they say, hey, what do I do today? Okay, here's what you do today. The feed is still a really great way that like we want them just to achieve everything that's in the feed, like everything assigned to them. But when we're saying then like a student's maybe get behind or they miss some time or something, they can just say, what's due today, finish that, and then you can go back and finish other things in your feed. This does not look the same as in teacher view, so just know that, but this is an option for students. And if you want to model this for students, you're going to need somebody to share their screen, and you can walk the students through that during a Meet or Zoom or whatever. We also then have, if you are a specials teacher or you're a platooning teacher, you want to assign a math lesson to 3 different classes. Here's a short little video we've included in here that you can watch how to assign one activity to multiple classes and the easy way to do that. And I'll pause just real quick off of those 3 things if there's any questions before we move on to our last section of app smashing. All right, we're just flying through the content today. I like it. So in Seesaw, we can smash apps together, and that's just like a fancy educational technology term too. Basically, we take 2 different things and we bring them together so that they can work together. So our first one here will be Pear Deck. And if you haven't used Pear Deck before, we have a 1-pager right here on the side for our how to use Pear Deck. It is an activity for building engagement within slides. So we already had some teachers ask about Google Slides. It is a little extension that you can add in collaborative questioning. Students can turn in drawings during their slides. You can ask them live questions. They can give you feedback. It's a really powerful tool for student engagement during live instructional time, a synchronous lesson. And you can turn it so that students work on self-paced for asynchronous as well. The way I would share this out then is that you get your Pear Deck link right here, and you can paste that into your Meet time. So I have my Meet link right here, and then I'm going to have my students do the Pear Deck at the same time as we're doing our Meet, so that they're on the slide deck and they are answering the questions in our Pear Deck as we're going through all of that. So that's a fun thing. If you haven't used it before, the free version is actually really cool. It gives you a lot of functionality. We do have some schools that have bought it. The premium version that has some more bells and whistles, but even the regular free version is really cool as well. So that is Pear Deck. Then we have Screencastify. So Screencastify is a purchased for everyone tool that we have. And I'm actually going to stop sharing here so I can share my whole screen with you all here, and I'm going to pull this up here real quick, sorry. And show you what this is. So this is an extension, and you can get it in the Chrome Web Store. It is just a simple extension right up here. It's this little arrow. You can see all the other extensions I have. I really like extensions. And you can get this as long as you sign up with your .org or .net account. You will get the full version of Screencastify. We bought it again for the whole district. So you come in here and you have a couple of different options. So one, I have my desktop version, so I can record a lesson off of just my desktop. So if I have an ebook that I want to read to my students, I can pull the ebook up onto my screen, and then I can record my desktop. And I like to record my desktop with my camera on. So if I record my desktop here, you can see my little picture-in-picture. I'm going to record here. I can read my ebook to my students. They can also see my face down there, and I can record that way. Then when I'm done, I'm just going to click the extension again, hit stop. It automatically saves this into my Google Drive, and then I can share the link out. But I'm going to show you the other version here in just a second before I show you how to do the link. So I'm going to come down And I'm going to then share my webcam. So I'm going to record here, and this is a really great one for like a read aloud. So if I have my book here for my students, a little bit of advanced book for elementary kids, but I say like I'm reading Where the Red Fern Grows or something. I can record to my students and I can hold up my book and I can do my read aloud with this for my students, or I can move it even closer and they can follow along, and I can do my read aloud. The key advantage is that the recording tools are better in Screencastify. It has more options. I have like a pointer and stuff built in, and it gives you more than the 5-minute limit. So in Seesaw, you only have 5 minutes that you can record out, and most read alouds can't be done in 5 minutes. So I want to be able to share out more than just that with my students, so I can have my bigger read aloud. Again, it saves it in my drive. I can come up here and I'll say, Where the Red Fern Grows, whatever my read aloud is. One, right? I can save it. And then I'm going to grab this shareable link. Screencastify is really cool. It shares it in your drive, and you don't need to worry about going in and changing share permissions or anything like that. You just go copy the shareable link, and I come back to my Seesaw page here. Let's pull up something from my activity library, like my tabs notebook here. Let's continue editing that. Say I want to make this my do now. I can come to my 3 little dots. I can drop in my link again, and I'm going to post in just that drive link. So it's just a simple copy from the video I made. I'm going to drop it into my Seesaw here. It will automatically make that link for me. It'll grab just a quick image from the page. You can see the video hasn't finished processing yet, but students can see that as a video. So then they can watch the video from here for Screencastify. Again, longer than 5 minutes. It has more video control, and it saves to your drive, so you don't need to worry about like slowing down your computer or something like that by having a bunch of videos saved on there. I really like that it saves on the drive, and with one click changes the share permission. So then I'm going to go one more here, real fun activity that we have purchased for everybody. And again, the one pager is linked right here for EdPuzzle. EdPuzzle is a really cool company that was made by some students in college, actually, that wanted a tool to make videos interactive. So like as a social studies teacher in the past, and I was also a technology teacher, I like to assign like YouTube videos or Vimeo videos or TED Talks to my students. But then how do I know that they actually watched it, right? Like I don't have a way like, hey, watch this YouTube video. Did they actually do it? I don't know, right? And so by using EdPuzzle, again, using your DPS account, you can come in and you have access to lots and lots of videos and lots of tools. So the easiest way to use EdPuzzle is to grab other videos that other people have made. So I can come in here and I can go to like the DPS library and I can find a cool video that I want, or I can just search up here, like I'm looking for some math enrichment for my students, right? So I can come down here, you can see, oh, Sarah Thomas has been making lots of videos and sharing them out. So you can search for exact math ones here, finding the slope, right? I don't know why that's math. So let's say like this one. I want the cumulative order. Okay, so I like this video here. Somebody's already made a YouTube video. Then you can see Yusuf in DPS has added in some questions. I can see that the questions are at these specific times down here. And I have one open-ended question, a multiple choice question, and another open-ended question. So I like this. I want to use this video for my own class. I'm going to use this as just enrichment. So I'm going to make my own copy of this. So I'm going to go to this activity for myself, and I'm going to edit the activity. I can add in my own questions. I can change up the questions that are already made in. And so maybe then at the end, I'm going to put in another question here. I can just do a simple like yes, no, make the both answers correct. And when it gets to this point of the video, it's going to ask them this question. They have to answer the question before they can move on. So I like my questions here. I'm going to save it. So I have my 3 comprehension questions and then just like a feedback question up here at the end. And so I'm going to finish this off and I can assign this then to a class. So I can take this that somebody else in DPS has already made, or somewhere else in the world, I really want to talk about turtles, or I really want to talk about American colonists. Somebody has probably made a video and added in questions. I can change up those questions. I can add in my own questions, but it's really easy to come in here, grab it, edit it, and then I can assign it out to a different class. So I can come in here and I can send this out to my social studies class. And this is my activity, so everybody's got it. I'm going to turn on some closed captioning. I'm going to make sure that my students can't skip. So they're not going to skip from like the 30-second mark to the 9-minute mark. I'm going to want them to watch the full thing. And I'm going to share this activity here. So I'm going to grab a link. And like we've done a million times today, what we do, I'm going to make this a page here. I'm going to drop in my link. And my students are going to watch this video. Again, this would be enrichment, so I'd probably put it on like the last tab here, and I'd have this video here, and when they click on it, it's going to open up the EdPuzzle activity for them, and they're going to watch the video all the way through. It's going to pause at the questions. They're not going to be able to skip ahead, and as a teacher, it's really fun. Sorry, let's go back here. Sorry. Back on my tab. So that's my link. As a teacher then in my classes, I can see what my students have done. So if I come to, let's see one here that has some answers. So I have 5 new answers here for like my school just live view one that I did. I can come in here, I can view my answers. I can see then Brian only watched 10% of the video on February, and he didn't turn in any of the questions. Kaylee did better, but she still only watched 40% of the video. So then if I'm going to do like an asynchronous lesson, or if I'm going to do enrichment, I can see then what my students are doing. I can see their answers. I can even give them grades based off of this, which is really fun to do and gives us a lot more accountability with our videos. If you want to be an absolute rock star, you can create your own content by uploading from Screencastify right into EdPuzzle. So you can make your own like math video and put your own questions on there. Those math videos that we saw in the DPS library there, our teachers doing just that, is that they're creating their own Screencastifys. Let's go back and I'll just highlight them because they're awesome. You can see they did their own Screencastify and then added in their own questions on top of it, so that you can see here's their Screencastify with their own questions with their comprehension as well. So this is a full asynchronous lesson, but then you know what your students are doing and how they're answering on their questions. And then when we come back to our Seesaw, on my Seesaw here, I have my link dropped in and I have the video ready for my students to watch. So really cool tool. It is an advanced thing. Maybe you want to play around with it in a few weeks from now. Maybe you want to start doing this right away. It is really fun for like science and social studies to do a lot of that, because I know that we're not spending like tons of time doing lesson planning for science and social studies, and those are supposed to be more asynchronous lessons, but this gives us a lot of options for that. And students can just use their regular DPS credentials. I see this question in the chat to get in with it. You can either set up your class first, or you can have an open class. Again, click on the one pager and it will have details as to like how to set up your class and stuff. But I like just to do an open class, and then it collects their login info and comes up with your student roster by just them clicking on the link to get in the first time. And then after that, they're already in your class and you can just keep going with just sharing the link for them. So that's App Smashing. Please use Screencastify. It's a really, really cool tool. EdPuzzle is more advanced, but we've bought both of them for you.
Hey, Luke, we had a question. Will students need to log into EdPuzzle?
Yeah, they'll use their DPS credential. So it'll just ask them the first time they log in, and it'll come up with a login with Google like they do for everything else, really.
And then it won't ask them after that, right?
Unless they restart their computer. Any other questions like from the document? I haven't been watching that as much. Oh, you guys are doing a great job of answering.
Yeah, we're good on the document right now.
Cool. All right, well, the last thing then that I'll cover is just kind of like a overview thing, and this is more appropriate for like 4th and 5th grade. But if you are using Google Assignments, you may have seen the banner that they added up. As quickly as they added Google Assignments for us in September, they are taking away Google Assignments in January. So if you're a Google Assignments user, here's the video how to use Google Drive within Seesaw. Basically, you're making shared folders with your students. This is the method I used as a teacher forever, as both a social studies teacher and a technology teacher with elementary age. I've done this down to kindergarten. They know how to just grab a link from Seesaw. It walks you through that. It makes a copy for each student, and then they just have to drop it into the shared folder so you have access to it. It's super easy way to do it. It does take a little bit of training, but this is the way we recommend using Google Drive. If you don't know what I'm saying when I'm saying Google Assignments, just watch this video if you want to use Google Drive, and you won't even know about the thing that Google launched real quick with assignments and then took away from us almost as quickly as they launched it. So watch this video here. It's also up on our YouTube channel. DPS Educational Technology is where our YouTube channel is, and it's in our one-pager as well to use it. Okay, we're going to hang out and take questions, but I'll just say here, if you want credit for this session, please fill out this survey here. We are under DPS Educational Technology and Library Services. So just so you know how to find this on the survey, give us that feedback. Make sure that you get the credit for learning spaces by going to the Schoology page and completing the survey. And we'll hang out, take your questions. Feel free to come off of mute or continue to drop the questions in, and we'll be here to help.
I do have a question.